Pro days continue as the NFL gets ready for the draft. Joined by Paul Dottino, I am John Schmeelk. And Paul, one of the biggest and schools that send the most kids to the NFL had their pro day this week, the University of Georgia. Let's start with their two cornerbacks, Eric Stokes and Tyson Campbell. They were interviewed by Aditi Kinkhabwala, and she asked them to describe the strengths of each other and what they showed at their pro days.
Just going out there and showing them, like, hey, man, he can actually, like, got ball skills pretty much. Like, hey, man, he's showing them, like, hey, man, I can go easily do all that.
Okay, and you give me, what do you think Eric did today to help himself?
I mean, you already know the speed, but I would just say, like, his pad level and how low he was playing and being able to get out his breaks with so precise quickness and, like, speed of lightness. So.
That from the NFL Network's coverage of Georgia's pro day. And Paul, these two cornerbacks could be end of day one, beginning of day two picks, and their testing numbers were off the charts.
Both showed good speed. Both guys 6 feet and taller, which of course is the trend now. Everybody wants taller, bigger corners. Stokes ran his 2.40s. Now, of course, these times are unofficial, both in the 4.2s, John. Very impressive.
4.25 was the low number there. By the way, Tyson Campbell not far behind. No. 4.38, you're like, that's off the charts good. Well, his partner ran the 4.25.
He blew by him.
Which is really impressive. And the other expressive thing with Eric Stokes, Paul, almost 33-inch arms. So that's the other thing. You want fast corners and you want long corners. So if you play press coverage, they can do some damage at the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, I think the other item that I saw was the 39 vertical on Stokes, too, which says a lot of spring in his legs, already 6 feet tall. Now you got that extra height to go up and get a 50-50 ball. That's going to impress some people.
No question about it. And again, these cornerbacks, they could be end of round one, beginning of round two type of selections in a quarterback draft where with more and more receivers heading into the NFL, you need corners to cover them. Of course, what else do you need? You need edge rushers to get after the quarterback to stop the quarterback from throwing to those really good receivers. And Azeez Ojulari is one of the top edge rushers in the class. It's a class where there isn't a lot of consistency from analyst to analyst of who the top edge rusher is. It could be Ojulari. Well, he was asked by Aditi Kinkhabwala from NFL Network what he wanted to show at his pro day.
I just wanted to show everybody I can run, that I'm not slow, that I can actually move out there, and just show them my versatility out there on the field, and it just all paid off.
Paul, Ojulari last year, 8.5 sacks for Georgia, and he's a player that can put his hand in the dirt, he can stand up and rush, and he was voted a captain by his teammates as a freshman, which is not common.
No, that's good stuff on the intangible side, but you're talking about a guy who's got terrific athleticism for being an edge guy, 4.6 in the 40, over 10.5 feet in the broad jump. Now, again, that's an athletic type of thing which you're going to need when you're trying to come off the edge.
And he also measured at over 34-inch arms. So he's only 6'2", 249, but when you have that length on the edge, teams like that to get into those offensive tackles. Sure. Two other edge players, let's jump over to the Pittsburgh Pro Day, Paul, that could be day two picks, Rashad Weaver and Patrick Jones. Patrick Jones, unfortunately, after he measured in at 6'4", 260, he had a little bit of an injury during his 40-yard dash, so he didn't do a lot of the events. Rashad Weaver, on the other hand, 4'8", 40-yard dash, 6'4", 259. He had 7.5 sacks last year, very productive.
Yeah, Weaver's the kind of guy who I think your game tape is going to be more impressive than your pro day numbers. You know, they talk a lot when they're out at Pittsburgh about, well, you got to see this guy on the field. Well, that's what we're talking about with him because his numbers just did not really, step off the page.
Same thing with Jones. He had 9 sacks in his last year at Pittsburgh. He was at the Senior Bowl. Didn't really wow people, but he was solid, so it's really game tape for those guys. Stay tuned to our coverage of pro days as we approach the 2021 NFL Draft.